Hello, 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 and welcome back to yet another NFL video. Today, man, we got the week five predictions. Now, listen, I'm recording this a day late. The Falcons Buccaneers game already took place. Let's get right into it, y'all. I'm not going to waste nobody's time. The Falcons Buccaneers game took place already. I listen, you don't have to believe me. I had the Falcons winning before the game started. It was at home. I think I had some good reasonings for it. But listen, all right, you don't have to believe me if you want. You can say this game doesn't count if you want. I went 11-5 last week. Week 3 was my worst week. Week 4 was my best week. I went 11-5 last week with the predictions. I was pretty good with it. Let's talk about both these teams, what they did in week 4 before we talk about week 5. So the Buccaneers, they hosted the Eagles. And they beat the Eagles convincingly. They put together their best game of the season, offensively, defensively. The Eagles, obviously, where they were missing their top two receivers, their offense just it was a struggle for them trying to move the ball. Buccaneers, though, they looked like a well-oiled machine. They were at home. Both their running backs made plays. Baker had yet again another great game for him. So the Buccaneers really took care of business last week at home against Philly, and they looked really good going into this game. And Atlanta last week, they just scraped by the Saints. And I was going to say this about the Falcons: is their first four games, right? Let's talk about the Saints game more. They beat the Saints without scoring a single touchdown. I believe they had four field goals and they had a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown. They did not score an offensive touchdown against the Saints at home, and they won. And that's what I'm trying to say about the Falcons, their first four games. I don't feel like, and listen, the Falcons played a very tough schedule. Okay, uh, Steelers, Eagles, Chiefs, Saints. That's not easy. That's very difficult. But I didn't feel like the Falcons had played a good game yet. Like I didn't feel like they played a game where their offense either played really well, the defense played really well. It's just the Falcons. I was just so disappointed throughout their first month of the season. And going into this game, the Buccaneers seemed to be on a roll. The Falcons struggling. I still had the Falcons winning this game because I thought it would be their best performance yet. But I was not expecting, brother, Kirk Cousins five. And this is the thing. This is the thing because the Falcons have the worst pass rush in the NFL. Okay, they have the least amount of sacks in the league. So what I was thinking is, well, if they don't get pressure on Baker Mayfield and they don't disrupt him, they're going to lose this game. They didn't get pressure on Baker Mayfield. Baker had a damn near flawless game. The Buccaneers scored 30 points. Baker threw three touchdowns. I'm like, oh yeah, it's over. Oh, it's over. Like there's no way in a world you could have convinced me the Falcons didn't get after Baker. He threw three touchdowns. He didn't turn it up. There's no way you could have convinced me that the Falcons would have won this game. Oh, but wait, this is why they got Kirk Cousins. Any other quarterback the last 5 years, the Falcons get blown out this game. That's a fact. That's an objective fact. But they finally got Kirk back there. He got sacked four times. Let's not forget that. Okay. He was not perfectly comfortable back there, but they let him sling it. They let Kirk be Kirk. It feels like they finally opened up the playbook. I'm not sure. But yeah, they had five receivers over 65 yards. Okay. Like that, man, that was an insane game. And there were so many times I thought it was over for the Falcons. I mean, how many field goals did they miss? They missed one. They missed two. They missed two field goals and then they get one blocked. I don't know what happened, but it was like the Falcons, it's a miracle that they won, and they absolutely needed to win this game. If they would have lost, and the Buccaneers are 4-1, and the Falcons are 2-3, that's a disaster for them. But now they are in the lead. They are first in the division now with this win. This is a signature win, and hopefully, if you're a Falcons fan, this is the game that they're going to use to build up to springboard them into hopefully having a more dynamic and a more explosive offense moving forward because they needed a game just to get Kirk comfortable and to really look like they can threaten teams vertically because they have talented receivers. And now they're finally, it's looking like Drake London. Pitts had his best game. So it's like maybe now they can finally make use of these talented guys that they have. Moving on. Jets and Vikings. The Jets lost possibly they might have had the most embarrassing loss in the entire NFL so far. What they put on tape last week against the Broncos is just embarrassing. And listen, credit where credit is due. The Broncos defense has looked very good so far. Okay, they've looked very good. But with that being said, the Jets, they had a healthy Aaron Rodgers and they looked just as bad, if not worse, than they did under Zach Wilson. That is unacceptable. Somebody has to get fired. Nathaniel Hackett has been stealing money from the NFL for like the last 5 years now. I do not understand how he still has a job. Like, he is possibly the worst offensive mind in football. He's back with Aaron Rodgers now, and it's still he put up 9 points. He couldn't score a touchdown against the Broncos. The Broncos had, I think, the least amount of passing yards ever in a win. The Jets defense absolutely clamped, shut down the Broncos, and the Jets at home could not get the job done. I have lost all hope in the Jets. I just have. It's like I don't know what the situation is going on there. And people, this is the crazy thing, right? People are so in love with Aaron Rodgers that they're blaming Robert Saleh, who is guys, Robert Saleh is a defensive minded coach who held the opposing team to 60. Let me see, actually. I have to check the stats just to make sure. He held the other team, guys, to 60 passing yards, and you lose the game. How is he getting any blame for this? I know he's a head coach, he's in charge of offense and defense, but don't we think that Aaron Rodgers is more responsible for this team's offense than Robert Saleh? That's what I would think. I mean, and the offensive line didn't play good. That's an objective fact. They couldn't run the ball. That's a fact. But they have a healthy Mike Williams, Alan Lazard, Garrett Wilson. Why can they not score a touchdown against the Broncos? So yeah, that was an embarrassing game. Meanwhile, the Vikings go to Green Bay. They go to Green Bay and beat the Packers. Jordan Love was not perfectly healthy. He turned it over like 4 times or 3 times or whatever it was. That was a very impressive win by the Vikings. They got out to like a 21-0 lead, and they pulled Alabama for a little bit. They lost the lead, but then they brought it back at the end. Sam Darnold is still looking great. The run game, like the Vikings, really they lead the league in sacks. Keep in mind that. So if the Jets' offensive line is not fixed from last week, Aaron could get killed in Minnesota this week. Okay, his first time back in Minnesota. It's been a long time. It's been like well over a year now since he played Minnesota. So we're gonna get to see that again. But yeah, man, the Vikings, they should be way heavier favorites than 2.5, in my opinion. They don't have any major injuries that I know of. Their defense has looked good. You got Byron Murphy, still Stephon Gilmore playing well. Their D line is playing great. Like I said, lead the league in sacks. It's like I think the Vikings should be heavy favorites here. With that being said, I just got it just feels like the game, right? This just feels like the game where the Sam Darnold miracle run starts to go a little. And listen, I believe in Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is absolutely undergoing his Geno Smith arc right now, his Baker arc, where he underwent poor management, terrible teams early on, and now he found his fit. But I just feel like every quarterback has bad games. Sam has not had a bad game yet. And against this Jets defense, which is still great, it just feels like this is that game. He might throw a pick six, turn it over multiple times. He's turned it over in every game so far, I think, this week. Or they've had a turnover at least in every game. But this might be the game where it kind of piles on itself. And even if he has a really bad game this week, I'm not saying like give up on him or anything like that. I'm just saying every quarterback has bad games. I just feel for some reason like this is going to be Sam Darnold's bad game, and the Jets are going to squeak out a win in which I think they should be heavy underdogs in this one. But I do get the Jets winning this one. Next up, Panthers at Bears. The Panthers last week, they put together a respectable competitive performance against the Bengals. They look much better, guys. They look like a real offense, okay, under Andy Dalton. Chuba Hubbard is playing really well. Deontay Johnson has had back-to-back really good games. They look legit under Andy Dalton, but this defense is still terrible. And they looked terrible last week against the Bengals. The Bengals moved the ball at will against them. So the Bears, though, they are an inept, terrible offense with what's his name, Shane Waldron, as the offensive coordinator. Like, he's already on the hot seat. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the Bears defense has been impressive so far. So we'll see if there will be the first defense to really slow down Andy Dalton and company. Um, it's an interesting game. Bears 4-point favorites. I don't mind that. It's just the Bears offense is the real question mark here. Because in theory, with all the players, all the talent on that offense, they should be able to move the ball at will, right? But we've seen how they've looked so far. That's tough to believe in a few ways. So I do have the Panthers taking this one. In surprising, shocking fashion, they get their first win, the second one, I should say, under Andy Dalton. It's just I don't trust either defense. I trust the Bears defense slightly more. They're at home. They should have all the advantages here, but I just don't. The Bears offense has not showed me enough. And even if they do put up 27 points, the Panthers offense has looked legit. I have to be proven now that the Panthers offense is not capable of putting up 28 like points. Like they've looked good in back-to-back weeks. So I'm gonna roll with the Panthers here, even though the Bears should be the obvious pick, really. Next up, Ravens at Bengals. Ravens favorite or their favorites on the road against a division rival who's not playing bad. The Bengals, they started off 0-3, but last week they bounced back against the Panthers. Will that be the springboard for them? We'll see. The Ravens played their best game of the season. They dog walked the Bills, man. It was kind of shocking to see. Derrick Henry obviously had his best game. It felt like in years, really, but I mean, he's still that guy. Even last year in Tennessee, like it was so terrible around him. Um, but the Ravens now, their last two games, they look like how they should be looking, like the best run game in the country. Lamar's playing well. Like it's just the Ravens are looking so much better than the Bengals. The what's it called? The money line or the over, what's the word? The odds favor that the Ravens in this matchup. So I'm gonna pick them. The defense, I don't know what it is. It's something about the Bengals offense. I think it's just getting rid. Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, their impact was so understated with the Bengals that not having them there, it just looks like a different offense, really. And I just you're playing against the Ravens. You have to be firing on all cylinders here if you're the Bengals. And this really is a must-win game, man. If you drop to 1-4, your playoff hopes, they're not dead because the AFC is actually a lot weaker than I thought it would be. But like, man, with the Ravens and the Steelers in that division, if you start off 1-4, you're pretty much kneecapping yourself at having no shot at winning your division, getting a home playoff game. So the best possibility is sneaking in as a road wild card. So the Bengals, this is a must-win game for them, but I still got the Ravens taking this one. Next up, we got oh man, keep this game off of TV. Put this shit in London or something. Uh, Dolphins at New England. One of these games actually was a which game is it? One of these games is in London. It was Jets Vikings. I forgot that game. So forget the shit I said about Aaron going back to Minnesota. That game is in London. I forgot to mention that. But Dolphins Patriots. This shit's terrible. I will not be watching the highlights. No, I probably will. But man, this is actually making me like sick thinking about this. So the Dolphins have looked absolutely terrible without Tua. Everybody understands that. They lost the Titans. Um, they lost the Titans without Will Levis. The man blown out. Sorry, I should say blown out by the Titans with multiple quarterbacks. Um, shit, I gotta move on. This is actually making me sick. The Patriots lost the Niners last week. They put together a respectable performance, but they still lost convincingly. Um, I don't know. I can't. It's like I don't want to pick either of these teams, but if I have to, I think the Patriots look far more competent. That's not saying much, but they look more competent right now than the Dolphins, and they're at home. That's really the difference maker here. The Dolphins lost at home to the Titans. The Patriots at home. I have to believe that they're going to get the job done here. And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't care about this. Both these teams are absolutely terrible. Moving on. Browns at Commanders. Listen, I know I said that if the Browns lost to the Raiders, by the way, who didn't have Devontae Adams or Max Crosby, embarrassing joke of a loss. I know I said if the Browns lost to the Raiders, I would be completely done with them. But Deshaun had his best game of the season. He had an 80-yard touchdown called back. He hit a receiver who dropped it, turned into an interception. Like he had his best game. He looked good. And if Deshaun's looking good, this is a different team. Okay. And listen, I know the Commanders are looking amazing. Jaden Daniels, rookie of the year so far. But this is the thing. The Commanders blew out the Cardinals, by the way. It was an embarrassing game. They looked amazing. With that being said, it's the same thing with Sam Darnold. Every quarterback has bad games. Jaden Daniels has had the best first 4 game stretch, I think, statistically ever in NFL history. That is amazing. That should be commended and all that. But he at some point he has to have a bad game, right? He has to have a bad game at some point. I think the Browns defense would be that type of a game, hypothetically here. And the Commanders defense, by the way, is pretty bad. They literally are, they have like statistically, potentially, the argument could be made. They have the best offense and the worst defense. Their defense is terrible. Okay, let's put that out there. So the Browns, I think they will have their best offensive performance. I think Jaden Daniels, I think this is the game where he struggles the most. Now, I'm not saying it's a terrible game or anything, but I do think this will be the game where they struggle the most offensively. And the Browns, I think, are going to put together their best performance so far offensively. So I'm leaning with the Browns here, but I could be embarrassed yet again. I think I've picked the Browns to win every single game, by the way. I know I picked them to beat the Jaguars, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Raiders. So I've had the Browns at 5-0 so far. So yeah. Browns have not lived up to my expectations. Next up, Colts and the Jags. The Colts pulled off a big upset last week at home against the Steelers. And it's like, and their defense, Justin Fields didn't even have a bad game really. But I thought the Colts offense and really Jonathan Taylor, I just feel like they've been able to run the ball pretty well. Anthony Richardson got hurt. I think it was a hip injury. I don't know if he'll be back or not. Okay, because Joe Flacco stepped in and he looked really good. Josh Downs had a big game. Michael Pittman, it's like it's the I don't know what to think about the Colts. They're just such a weird team. But you're going on the road to play the Jaguars, who it's just a must win. The Jaguar, there are jobs on the line for this in this game for the Jaguars, okay? Because who'd they lose to last? I think it was the Texans, right? Yeah, they lost to the Texans last week. It's they're finding ways to lose. They lost to the Dolphins with 1 second on the clock. They got their ass kicked against the Bills. They lost the Texans by just blowing the lead, right? They're finding ways to lose. And the Colts, you would think the Jaguars get the job done here, right? They just have to, right? I got the call. I got the call. The Jaguars are playing such stupid football and such bad football. Their offensive coordinator's on the hot seat. The coach is on the hot seat. Trevor Lawrence has been terrible. And I know there are fewer and fewer Trevor Lawrence like supporters every week, it feels like. But it's like, how do you defend? He's yet to have a good game. It's been a month. He's a max contract player. It's been a month. He has not had a good game. I just I need to see the Jaguars win a game before I can pick them to win a game. So I got the Colts winning this one, even with Flacco, whoever it is. The Colts have not looked bad. Like they've been in every game they've played so far. And I think if the Jaguars make mistakes like they've been making, the Colts are a team that will take advantage of that. So I got the Colts winning this game. Next up, great game, amazing game here. The Bills go on the road down to Houston, 2 3-1 teams, two juggernauts, two powerhouses in the AFC square off. The Bills are favorites. They're favorites on the road. Um, let's talk about what the Bills did last week. They got blown out by the Ravens. They look human. And let's be honest here. Who did the Bills beat really? They beat the Cardinals, who are 1-3. They beat the Jaguars, who are 0-4, and they beat the Dolphins, who are 1-3. Is it fair to say the Bills were beating up on the slow kids? Is it fair to say that? Were they beating up on the iffy kids and they made them look better than they are? I think that's fair to say. They got exposed last week. So did my Seahawks. I'll say the same thing about us. But the Texans, they lost. They got embarrassed by the Vikings, but they beat the Jaguars as well. But they also beat the Bears and they also beat the Colts. So they have two wins, I think, that are better than any of the Bills wins. Um, the Texans' offensive line has been really bad, man. They've been bad. CJ has not been able to look that comfortable back there. He had his best game last week, though, by a mile. He had like 360 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. It looks like Nico Collins, by the way. Nico Collins leads the league in yards, and it's not close. Um, they did not have Joe Mixon last week. Hopefully, he'll be back for this game. Um, two good teams, but they're on different trajectories. That is definitely true. I have the Texans winning this game. I think the Bills, even if they do bounce back, I think it'll be a high scoring game. I think both offenses will come to play. They'll know the significance of this game. But I think I just trust the Texans that much more. I think the Texans are a better roster, offense and defense, than the Bills are. And they have home field this game. It's just I'm trying to think of a way that the Bills look better or are better. I don't see a single advantage for the Bills in this game against the Texans. So I think the Texans take this one, high scoring affair, possibly game of the week. I hope this game's on TV. I'll be able to watch it. But yeah, I think the Texans definitely get the job done at home against the Bills. Next up, Raiders Broncos. Raiders, they are now officially trying to trade Davante Adams, which means their season is pretty much a failure, right? Even though they beat the Browns last week, I mean they're kind of blowing things up already. The Broncos, they somehow managed to beat the Jets last week, so really two terrible teams. I'm not going to lie to you. Gardner Minshew versus Bo Nix. There's a couple tough games this week, man. I'm trying to think. You would think the Raiders with a good defense would be able to shut down an anemic Broncos offense. You would really think that. And I think that as well. Well, Max Crosby be back. That'll be a big factor in here. The Broncos were able to run the ball last week, even though they had no pass game whatsoever. The Raiders, though, they can't run the ball. Jacoby Myers is wide receiver one. Brock Bowers, he's been good. I don't have much to say about this game. These are both bad teams I don't really care about, but I think the Raiders are better, much better in terms of talent. Even I shouldn't even say much better. They're bad as well. So I'm not going to spend times on games I don't really care about. I got the Raiders winning 20-17. Next, we got the Cardinals going to San Fran. San Fran, they got to win against the Patriots. They blew them out. George Kittle's back. Debo's back, I think. The Cardinals, it's so weird, right? The first 2 weeks, the Cardinals looked good. I should say the first 3 weeks even. I thought the Cardinals looked good. And it's like you feel like I had this thing in my mind, like, the Cardinals are doing pretty well. And you look up and they're 1-3, and they're about to be 1-4 because they go to San Fran. San Fran, heavy favorites here, heavy favorites at home. And I do think they're going to get the job done. I don't know what it is about the Cardinals, man. They just don't have a good enough roster. Like I'm gonna challenge you guys. Think of one Pro Bowler on this team besides the quarterback, he's supposed to be a Pro Bowler. He's getting paid like it. So name one Pro Bowler? Only guy that comes to mind for me is Buda Baker. Like where is the established veteran talent on this team? Like outside of the quarterback. I don't get it. I don't see it anywhere. And it feels like Buda Baker's on the trade block every year. It feels like they want to get rid of him. So I don't know. They're doing a full scale rebuild and they're still early in that process, but they're paying a quarterback max money. It's such a weird situation for the Cardinals. But yeah, I do think the Niners get the job done here. They look good last week in the win against the Patriots. They get another layup here in the form of the Cardinals. So I'll be shocked if they don't win, but I do think the Niners get the job done and they improve to 3-2. Next up, Patriots. I don't know why I said Patriots. Packers travel on the road to play the Rams. The Rams lost last week to the Bears. I already talked about how the Packers they didn't get embarrassed by the Vikings. The Vikings, they kind of came in and punched the Packers in the mouth. Took that early lead, got multiple takeaways on Jordan Love. Jordan Love, he just didn't look really. It's weird. He didn't look comfortable in last week's game. The injury was clearly still bothering him, but he had a really good game. He had a Brett Favre type game. He had like 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. But at the end of the day, he did lose the game with all the turnovers. And at the end, it was I'm not going to call it garbage yards, but like you can tell. I mean, if Dak did the same thing, people would be killing him right now on Instagram. Okay, so let's call it what it is. But the Rams have struggled offensively without Puka and without Cooper Kupp. I don't know if Cooper Kupp will be out for this game. I think he will. The Packers, it's weird, man. The Rams just absolutely cursed by injuries in 2021 and 2022 and now 2024. They just cannot get over the injury thing. It's so many players on the roster. So I'm gonna have to side with the Rams here. This is the thing, right? This is what I do for NFC West teams. Okay. I don't want the Rams to win. I think the Packers are going to win this game. However, I have to play both sides here. Because if the Rams win, I'll be upset, but at least I'll get the pick right. But if I pick the Packers and then the Rams win, then I'm mad because the NFC West team won and I got my pick wrong. So I have to cover my bases here. Okay. But I can't do the thing where I'm like, but if the Packers win, listen, I do think the Packers are going to win, but I do pick the Rams here. Let's be honest, the Packers offense has been wishy-washy at best. They're able to move the ball when Jordan Love's in there, but they are 0-2 with Jordan Love, and their defense even has been shaky. I mean, against the Eagles and the Vikings now, it's just weird. They play worse as a team when Jordan Love's in there. I don't understand. Now they played two good teams with Jordan Love, but I don't know. The Packers are just a weird team to me, and the Rams as well. Even though they lost the Bears, they didn't get blown out. They beat the Niners without Kupp and Puka. So let's not rule out the fact they could just win this game straight up just by outplaying the Packers. So I don't know, man. This is a weird game, but I do think the Rams could get the job done. Next up, Seahawks at Giants. Now, we were 5-point favorites, and then Malik Nabers just recently got ruled out. So I am perfectly convinced we are going to take care of business. Let's not make two mistakes about it. The Giants offense has been embarrassing. The Giants offense has been a joke. Malik Nabers is the only bright spot on this offense, and now he's out with injury. So, yeah, I might even change this to 23-10 here for the Seahawks prediction. Listen, we lost the Lions, okay? We lost the Lions. We got exposed. Say whatever you want. But our offense looked great. Our offense looked great. And the Lions, I called before the season started, I said the Lions this season could be the best offense in NFL history. They looked like it last week for the first time this season. Okay. There's nothing you can do about that. I think any team in the league last night could have lined up, or not last night, last week on Monday Night Football. They could have lined up against the Lions. I think they would have lost wholeheartedly. The Lions played their best game possibly offensively of the Dan Campbell era. That's a fact. So bounce back game for the Seahawks. We're at home now. You think the defense? Do you think the defense not going to be motivated to come out and put together something better than that? The offense. This is the problem. This is the thing that scares me about the Giants. They have a very good front seven. Okay, Thibodeaux, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. Geno could get killed if the offense does not come to play, or the offensive line, I should say. But we played against Aiden Hutchinson last week, and he didn't wreck the game like I thought he would. So yeah, I'm very confident in my pick here for the Seahawks to get the job done. We improved to 4-1. Giants dropped to 1-4. Next up. So we got the Cowboys and the Steelers, Sunday Night Football. Really good game here. Cowboys last week, did they win? Yeah, they beat the Giants. Cowboys beat the Giants last week on Thursday Night Football. They got a long time. They got a long time to rest, to prepare, and get back for this game. I don't know if Micah Parsons is going to play or not. Cowboys have not looked good though, really, offensively or defensively this season yet. They have not played a full good game since the Browns game. They played well against the Browns, but it's been 3 weeks now since that. The Steelers, they're coming off their first loss this season. I thought Justin Fields played well though. And especially if the Cowboys are not going to have Micah Parsons out there, I think the Steelers are going to have a really good opportunity here to move the ball and look good on offense and really potentially wreck the game for the Cowboys with TJ Watt on that defensive line. I really want the Steelers to win here. I really do. I think it would be so funny because I think if they win, they were going to crush. Like I think this could be a blowout win for the Steelers. But it's something about it. It's something I just feel it. I get these feelings about games. Whenever I'm leaning towards one team too much in my mind, this thought creeps up like, oh yeah, just because you thought that this is not, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I just listen, Dak has not played bad. CD's played well. The Cowboys have the worst run game in the NFL. Everything is pointing to the Steelers beating the Cowboys convincingly. I hope they do. I really want them to. But I just think it's just something in my mind is telling me too many things are adding up. It's something going, it's something fishy. This can't be right. So I think the Cowboys are going to get the job done on the road with the odds stacked against them. Big underdogs. Well, should be bigger. Steelers should be like 4 or 5 point favorites here, in my opinion. But I think the Cowboys are going to get the job done on the road in shocking fashion on Sunday Night Football. And now the lone Monday night game, we have the Saints and the Chiefs. This is a good game. I don't know why the Chiefs are such heavy favorites when Mahomes. By the way, Mahomes with possibly, listen, hear me out now, possibly the worst play in NFL history for Patrick Mahomes. He threw a bad interception against the Chargers last week. And on the return, he took out Rashee Rice's knee. They're saying it might not be an ACL tear, but regardless, he's out for a while. Okay, he's out for a while. They're not going to have Rashee Rice. They're not going to have Hollywood Brown. The Chiefs are going to be severely short-staffed, okay, against a good Saints secondary and a really good Saints defense. Mahomes is just, and by the way, he's just not played good so far. I don't know if he's turned it over every game, but Mahomes has had a rough start to the season. I think it's directly linked to Travis Kelce not being a big factor so far, but man, no Pacheco, no Rashee Rice, no Hollywood Brown. It's like the Chiefs are, it's a miracle that they're 4-0, really. The Saints, I already mentioned in the game against the Falcons, how they managed to lose that one. They gave them a touchdown on special teams, and they threw a weird pick six where it got tipped off the screen. It was weird. I thought Derek Carr has played well so far. It's been a completely different Saints team from the first 2 games to the most recent 2 games. Which team is going to show up against Kansas City? I have no clue. But I think with all the injuries, all the problems going on for the Chiefs right now, I think the Saints walk into Arrowhead, upset them. Big underdogs on the road here. But I do think they get the job done. I think their offense, they got to get the run game going. They got to get Kamara back involved in the offense. That'll open up the shots to Olave and Rashid Shaheed. I like this. I like the Saints here. I think the Saints defense is really going to give Mahomes some problems. They're just so short staffed right now, and I think the Saints are a good enough team to be able to take advantage of that. So I got the Saints winning. That is going to be it for this video, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.